Chapter 9 is titled Facilitating Complex Thinking. It talks about various instructional strategies designed to facilitate learning. First, we are going to look at the forms of thinking associated with classroom learning. There are three different forms. There's critical thinking, creative thinking, and problem solving. Critical thinking requires skill at analyzing the reliability and validity of information, as well as the attitude to do so. A critical thinker is thought as astute, which means that they ask key questions, they evaluate evidence for ideas, reasons for problems logically and objectively, and express ideas and conclusions clearly. Skills that attribute to critical thinking include annotation, which is writing questions and comments on the margins of the reading, oral discussions of personal issues or dilemmas, which stimulate the critical thinking, and metacognition, which are strategies for thinking, about thinking, and for monitoring quality of one's own thinking. Another form of thinking intended for the student is creative thinking, which is the generation of ideas that are new as well as useful, productive, and appropriate. Under divergent thinking, the teacher stimulates the students' thinking through open-ended questions with questions that may have many possible answers. In convergent thinking, it is more focused on logical reasonings about ideas and experiences that lead to specific answers. Divergent and convergent thinking work together to facilitate as students work on their creative thinking. The third way intended for students to think is problem solving, which is the analysis and solution of tasks or situations that are complex or ambiguous that pose difficulties of some kind. The problem solving in the classroom is when the teacher presents tasks that are complex and that finding the solution is not going to be straightforward. The way that the student responds to these type of questions shows their problem solving skills. There is well-constructed and ill-constructed problem solving problems, which the well-constructed ones provides the information that the student needs and can be solved with a few clear rules. And the ill-constructed is the opposite of this. It's not going to be very clear, and not everything that they need to solve the problem is going to be in the problem. The obstacles in problem solving include functional fixedness and problem representation, which can be in the way that a person understands or organizes the information provided in the problem. There are times that it can be misunderstood. Strategies to assist in problem solving include problem analysis, which is breaking up the problem in parts. There's also working backwards, which is working from the final solution over to the original problem. And there is also analogical thinking, which is using the knowledge or experiences with similar features to help solve the problem. Now that we looked at student forms of thinking, now we will look at the instructional strategies. There are two categories of instruction. The first one is teacher-directed instruction, and the second is student-centered instruction. The teacher-directed instruction, these are some examples, are any strategies initiated and guided primarily by the teacher. The examples here are lectures and readings, which is the most commonly used. The second one is advanced organizers, in which the teacher provides a brief introduction to the material before it is presented. Then there's recalling and relating to prior knowledge. There is elaborating information and asking questions about the new material. There's organizing new information, in which the students take notes or make outlines. There's also mastery learning. The teachers teach the material, and right away after they teach the material, they give an exam to see who learned and who still needs help with the material. The ones who need more help are then provided and with tutoring, with independent tutoring until they master the concept. And then we have direct instruction, which is teaching that is highly scripted. It says what to teach and exactly how to teach it. And here we have Madeline Hunter's effective teaching model, which combines a number of direct teaching strategies. In the model, the teacher makes contact with the student before, during, and after the lesson. So now we are going to look at the student-centered models of learning, which shift some of the responsibility for directing and organizing learning from the teacher to the student. This does not mean that the teacher doesn't do the instruction anymore, but that the responsibility of learning comes more from the student. Some of the examples for this are independent study, self-reflection, inquiry learning, and cooperative learning. With some of these types of learning, not only is the student working independently, but in some cases, they are also working with their peers. So this was chapter 9, facilitating complex thinking. And as you can see, there are many instructional strategies available, and deciding on which of these to use depends on the forms of thinking that we want to encourage, whether it's critical thinking, creative thinking, or problem solving skills. It depends on that. And the extent to which the ideas need to be organized in order to be understood, and the extent to which students need to take responsibility for their learning. One of the things that I found very interesting in this chapter was Madeline Hunter's model. I thought it was very well organized, and I think it's very important to keep in contact with the student in all of these stages, whether it's at the beginning of the lesson, during the lesson, or at the end of the lesson when checking for comprehension. I think it's very important to have that communication with the student in order to ensure that they are understanding the concepts. So yes, this was chapter 9, facilitating complex thinking. Thank you.